Welcome to The Bridge, the official podcast for the University of Maryland, Baltimore School of Pharmacy Patients Program. The Patients Program is the bridge between the community and the researchers. The Patients Program created this partnership to help researchers listen to the community's voice in order to build a bridge to an effective learning healthcare community. Here's your host, Rodney Elliott.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rodney Elliott, Community Engagement Specialist over here at the Patients Program, and welcome to The Bridge. Today, we are excited to have two guests, two partners, two friends of the Patients Program joining us to talk about a project that they worked heavily on. Our first guest is Ms. Ericka Lewis. She is Assistant Professor at University of Maryland School of Social Work, has a passion for working with children, families, particularly in that parenting space. And I also learned that she's an avid gamer. So we may have a question or two about her love for games. That may come up later on as well. And another guest, friend of the Patients Program, is Howard Hughes. He is a financial advisor during the day, but a community leader in West Baltimore, Southwest Partnership in his off time. I want to thank you guys both for joining us today on The Bridge. The project that we're going to be talking about initially, or primarily today, is going to be the Code-Driven Project, which is a project between the Patients Program and the Southwest Partnership. They co-developed the Code-Driven Project to provide 5 learning sessions about patient-centered outcomes research and how the community can have an active role in health research. I'm going to jump right in and give the first question to Ericka, and ask Ericka, what was your role in the Code-Driven Project, Ericka?
So I was a part of the advisory board. And so it was really nice to be there with researchers and community leaders such as Howard. And we came together and we were just giving our thoughts on materials and other things that were going to be a part of the training sessions. And so I was there to listen and learn, really. I learned so much from this project.
There to listen and learn.
Yeah.
Howard, in your off time, again, like I mentioned earlier, you're a community leader. How was it being in a meeting with Dr. Lewis, and did she listen and learn?
I think it was an all-around thing because I was listening and learning myself and learning about how research starts, begins, and works in between, and things of that nature was very enlightening and interesting as well. So in all, it's really a encompassing thing on watching how the professionals like Dr. Lewis works and the individuals such as myself and the community works within the program.
That's great to hear, because here at the Patients Program, we always try to provide spaces where our community members and where our doctors and researchers can all get together and have conversations around health issues that are important to both sides, to the researcher side and also to the community side. So the CEC was a big part in that, the Community Engagement Center, where we hosted a couple of those focus groups where Ericka and Howard got together along with other researchers and community leaders, and they talked about issues that are important to the community. And this leads me to my next question. Howard, I'm going to start with you. As a community member, did you feel as though you had the space and you had the time to share your thoughts in a safe space at the CC with other members?
Yeah, I thought it was a great venue and a great opportunity, and the time allotted was good. You know, it could always be more, but again, the attention span is always an issue with people, you know, trying to get in this bit of time and this bit of space to learn about things. But it was a good venue. Everybody was heard, which is the most important thing. Everybody that spoke was heard, and it was discussed. So I would say it was a win-win.
We talk a lot about being heard. I know a lot of community members that I come involved with out in the community, they talk about, yes, they want their opinions heard and they want them heard in a safe space. And I know the Patients Program, we try to do a good job of sharing some of those topics that are important to us, that we understand helps bridge that gap, helps the community members learn from the lens of the researchers and doctors, and reverse, the doctors and community members learn from the community members' perspective. Ericka, when we talked about the 10-step framework, when we talked about patient-centered outcome research and the research process as far as engagement principles, did you feel as though you had an opportunity to share and also learn with the community members during those focus groups?
Yeah, and I have to say it's the way that the meetings were set up.
Okay.
So I think it starts with the structure and building that environment so that people felt comfortable to share. So it wasn't, us coming in and introducing each other or introducing ourselves to each other and talking about degrees or what we did here or there, but it was really around how do we all come together? What shared interests do we have? What shared thoughts and feelings do we have? And I loved having that space for that. Also starting each meeting, which I think this is something that the patients program does as well, which I've seen in the patients program, which I loved, was starting with a story. And hearing from community members. It really just set the pace for the rest of the meeting, that it wasn't going to be all buttoned up and stuffy, but we were really going to talk about real things that matter to everyone. And so it just opened up the environment to learn and to grow from one another.
When we talk about meeting the community where they are, that's exactly what we mean, just that. And I know when I first started with the patients program as an engagement specialist, I thought that I had to go out to the community with the lab coat, with the clipboard and my glasses on and my ID and, be ready to write information down. That's the stuffiness that we tried to avoid, that I knew right away it wasn't going to work. So when I'm out and about in the community, I'm meeting the community where they are, and I'm being just that. I'm Rodney Elliott. I do have my degree, but, I don't have my degrees blasted everywhere. You don't have to call me doctor or mister or none of that. It's simple opportunity for me to meet you where you are so you can feel comfortable, or the setting, I would say, so to speak, is a comfortable setting where everybody can share. Howard, from your perspective, what type of impact do you think a setting like that can have for the community, for the people who live in West Baltimore? Is that a safe setting? Do you think that setting was productive, I should say?
Well, I'll write off what Ericka said in regards to the atmosphere of not so much as throwing out, I'm a doctorate of bioscience, blah, 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 blah. More so, we're here to talk about this and go right in, kind of go into it. That's important for the community members to feel as though, okay, I'm not being talked down to, more so I'm being talked with or to.
Okay.
And engaging. I mean, I think that's important because you kind of, especially in West Baltimore, the participation that is desired is important, but more so it needs to be more participation. The participation we get is great, but it's only a small fraction of what is needed as a whole to bring in to really engage the community.
I totally get that. When I go out to the community and whether it's for an event or whether it's just to support one of the events, one of the things they ask me is when you're coming back or when's the next one. So when you have a good product or when you have a setting where folks can share, they want that more and more again. I'm sure that's something that the leaders in the Co-Driven Project definitely have taken note of. And I know we have some upcoming dissemination opportunities to give the information back to the community of what we learned during that process. If either you can take this next question and kind of give me or give the listeners a view of what some of those focus groups was like. Any highlights of the focus group where you heard something from the community and it either a light bulb went off or it kind of sparked a conversation? Because I know when we get around some of our community members and they have opportunity to grab the mic or share their opinion, they do just that. Was there something in some of those focus groups that stood out to you? Anybody can go first, either one.
I would say that I really appreciated the feedback that we received at the end of the focus groups that then the code-driven, the advisory board came together and talked about. And it was things around, yes, we like to hear about research. We like to hear about how research is going to impact our community. But just like how we're saying, we need to see more and we want to be involved, more involved, so that it's not happening to us, but that we are a part of it. And so I think that was one of the biggest takeaways, that code-driven should be how we do research in just in life, how we do research in general, which should be collaborative.
Ericka, do you think some of your colleagues can benefit from participating in situations like this? And, I see you're smiling. Folks can't see us, but we're recording via Zoom. But how do you think some of your other colleagues can benefit from opportunities like this, like a code-driven project?
Yes, yes, and yes. I think colleagues, researchers, anybody could really benefit from this because I think it humbles us as researchers. We're coming in, we have this education, we have this passion to make changes, but we think we know everything. And so in our quest, I think sometimes to do the research and to be of use, that we are silencing those who we say that we want to work with and that we want to help. And so I think this type of program, coming in knowing that you can't just say that you're about it, you have to be about it. You have to be there, you have to show up, you have to be collaborative. I think this is just a great lesson for researchers near and far.
Thank you for that. And Howard, I'm sitting here reading off of the give back material that we're going to share with some of the code-driven participants, and some of the results from that project are bulleted saying that we build new relationships for future work. That's something that came out of the focus groups. Designing research from the community's view. Give the community control in the research process. Help patients be active partners in their healthcare and return results in an understandable way. These are the feedback that we got from the community members. Howard, which one of those stood out to you, or you would mind maybe, giving us a little bit more deeper dive into, as far as some of the results that came from those focus groups?
I think the one you hit on was having community engage in controlling what the research does.
Give the community control in the research process.
Okay. Right. Because during those meetings, a lot of people, again, were not aware of how the research works, or they had the misconception from past, like the Tuskegee experiment, or with things that happened at Johns Hopkins. They hear about these things and then it's passed down, but they don't really know until they sat down and went through, oh, this is what actually, is happening. And this is how it works. This is how it should work.
How it should work.
This is how it would properly be done if given to the community and presented to the community in that fashion. And it was received very well. Like you were going over those answers. It really is about how the community wants to participate and wants to interject in how the research is done and proceeds into the future.
Ericka, do you want to comment on that?
I was going to say word, facts, preach. Amen. I want to say all of that. I agree. Yeah, there's just more control over the process, and which I think is important, and also how the information is getting out there. So the research is conducted. Now, how are you communicating it with the community? And so I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, that's a huge highlight. I know early on when I got to the community, and I'd say the quote unquote R word, the research word, community members typically freeze up on me, or they, close up. But when I get to explain it to them that research that doesn't always have to involve, a specimen. It doesn't have to involve always a swab or taking your blood or anything like that, or giving you a pill. We're talking about focus groups. We're talking about discussions, because we believed early on and recognized early on that community members' lived experiences is just as important as all the education and time the researchers and doctors put into their craft as well. So you need both. you need those lived experiences, and you need the professionals to, structure and talk about the process, about how they can come to a better solution, to a different solution, to more than just one solution. One pill doesn't fit every problem. One template doesn't fit every neighborhood, as we know, because we work with a lot of neighborhoods in West Baltimore. And I can tell you what, you can go to one side of Martin Luther King and you go 2-3 blocks down, it's a whole different vibe there. So you have to be aware of that. And if you have your lab coat on and your clipboard and your eyeglass and you stay in these buildings on the other side of Martin Luther King, you just might not get that feel. So I love when I hear Ericka Lewis and Howard Hughes getting together over the CC and other colleagues talking about different projects, because that lets me know that the impact that after these meetings, after these focus groups are going to be huge and going to be substantial from both sides. We're almost coming towards the end. I just wanted to ask both of y'all, starting with Ericka, what do you think the impacts of events like Code-Driven can have on the research world?
Yeah, I think major impacts. I think it shows the importance of relationship building and how that has to be center in all of the projects. It shows how far research can actually reach and impact others if, we're building relationships, if we're getting feedback and we're collaborating with the community, and if we continue working with community to disseminate the findings. I think it's really important. And I think one of the impacts is, I think the research being more trustworthy, and there's that accountability factor that it's been vetted by the community. They've had their input, and so I think that's really, really important. On top of networking, just these opportunities to connect.
Those are definitely highlighted on the form as well, talking about that, building relationships, building that trustworthy and networking. Howard, what are the next steps for the community members? What are the next steps for the patients program, from your lens? You participated in a couple projects with us, but I think now you have a grasp of who the patients program is, how we are and what we do and how we maneuver. But you've been very vital to helping us connect with that Southwest partnership. So what would be the next steps in your eyes, or some of the next steps in your eyes going forward when it comes to Code-Driven project, or just bridging that gap between research and the community in general?
Well, I think just continued communication is the key to that. Just recently with on this side of town in West Baltimore with the E. coli scare, I got a number of calls from some community. Howard, can they do research on this, on how this affects the community, blah, blah, blah. So it really piques the interest now of those who have came to those meetings, and further entices them to ask more questions. Like I said, they were like, well, Howard, what can we do to get, more research in, with the water and how it affects everybody with the lead and, the kids, and all those things are coming, all those questions are coming into place now that I don't think would have happened had we not had these meetings with the community with Code-Driven. And I think just continued communication and also just more information given to the community back and forth, and be transparent with that information is key, because that's the main thing, is how a lot of the community on the west side of town feels as though they are not being heard by the city with this water issue, because of how serious it is. So I think it's just important to have that communication continue.
The line of communication is definitely important. That bridge to communication is definitely important. Yeah. See how I did that? The bridge to the communication.
I caught it, and I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely. You guys have participated again, like in numerous projects. Both of you guys are a phone call or email away. So, on behalf of the Patients Program, I appreciate you guys always being available for us, schedule permitting. Earlier in this summer, you both participated and were guests at the Patients Day. at the Community Engagement Center. And taking a quick flashback back to that day, Ericka, as you were a guest there, one of the questions or feedback, so to speak, from the audience was talking about going to therapy. And if I remember correctly, you kind of sat up in your chair and you wanted to comment a little bit intently about that. Not specifically connected to co-driven, but I think it's still connected in some way because mental health is important. And I want to ask you that question again and poke it to you, slide it to you as well, Howard. Like, how important it is to seek therapy? Because I think that was just the exact question. Like, should we go to therapy? That was one of the questions from the audience members.
Therapy is so important and so useful. And I think that you can participate in therapy before a problem occurs. It can be seen as a source of prevention. And I think I was saying at the last event that it's really one of your only opportunities where you have someone who's dialed in just for you, an objective sounding board. And I think it's really important. And it's one of those things that we always say, self-care, self-care, self-care. These are one of the things that you're doing that's really investing in you so that you can be of service and really enjoy all aspects of your life because you're able to, know a bit more about yourself. You know that you're putting your mental health, you're setting it as a priority. And I think that you will see it in other areas of your life when you are mentally healthy and when you do have these avenues such as therapy to be able to just to continue to grow.
Yeah. I was actually in the gym the other day having a conversation with I'm not gonna say he's a friend, but I see him in the gym a lot and he's talking about, lifting weights and then going to get a massage and massage his muscles, and he even just broke out in conversation and said, yeah, I'm also going to go to therapy too because I treat the brain like a muscle as well. And when you look at it from that perspective or think at it from that perspective, if you put a lot of tension and stress on your body when it comes to working out, staying in shape, you're going to need some, relaxation needed for your muscles. That's a massage. We all have a lot of stress and friction on our brain, and going back to have an opportunity to, and on our heart in general. So have an opportunity to bounce stuff off of folks who is 100% dialed in on you, I think is just as important. So yeah, I just wanted to ask that question because I knew that was a highlight of Patients Day, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to get into elaborate on that as well. And Howard, from your perspective, on Patients Day, that's another day, an opportunity for us to, again, bridge that gap and stay connected with our community. Hopefully that's going to be an annual thing for us at the Patients Program, and we've even had conversations with the leaders over there at the CEC to have more events on a consistent basis over there at the CC. So what are some of the events you think that we can have at the CC that can be beneficial to the community members over there in West Baltimore?
Well, like you all were just talking about, the therapies, to talk about mental issues and things of that nature. I mean, that being such a hot point in generations under. I'm considered an old head, so therapy and diagnosis of things. Boy, you'll be all right. Just go run and play or put dirt on it. You'll be okay. Yeah. That mentality is what I grew up on. However, you see more and more, like you all said, there are spaces that you can go to talk about what's going on. Just to, like you said, relax the mental muscle, so to speak, and to work on it and to strengthen it. So those type of things can be brought to the table more in event wise on how are you feeling type of event, or let's talk about an event.
Wow. Okay.
Tea and talk, or chat and chew. So those type of things could really help along those lines.
Thank you, Howard, for sharing that. And I'm gonna take a book out of our executive director's toolbox, so to speak, Dr. Mullins. When an idea is brought up or something, thought-provoking is brought up, he definitely revisits that person and gets a little bit more insight on it. So Howard, I'll definitely be in contact with you a little bit more to hear a little bit more about chat and chew, tea and talk. I like that. And, we have resources here that maybe can provide an opportunity in the space for that. I think could be beneficial to the community. And thank you both for joining me here on the bridge on our space, where we just try to stay connected to our community and our research world as much as we can. It's always been a pleasure when I see you guys, when I see an email with your name on it. Thanks again for all your participation in the Patience Program. And thank you for joining me today on the bridge.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Bridge podcast. To learn more about the Patience Program, visit our website at www.patience.umaryland.edu.